This is Chris Hughes with the Christian Perspective Podcast with Chris Hughes, where we encourage our listeners to engage the culture with Jesus Christ. Your Chosen Truth Network podcast is starting in just a few seconds, so enjoy it, share it, but most of all, thank you for listening to the Truth Podcast Network.
This is the Truth Network.
It's not fair. You know what? Nobody ever listens to me. It's just not fair. Toys and treats should all be free. It's just not fair. That's right. Breakfast should be pop and chips. Cake and candy chocolate dip. So let me do the shopping trips. It's just not fair. That's right.
Welcome to the Christian Car Guy Radio Show.
I say this calls for action, and now, nip it in the bud. Nip it in the bud. You got to nip it in the bud.
Nobody ever lets me play. It's just... That's right. I want parties every day. It's just not... With kids a-coming through the door, piling presents on the floor. It's not enough. I need some more. It's just not fair. No, it's not fair. I tell you, it's not fair. He came out into the audience and he gave my sister one and he didn't give me any. And then I was sitting there and you told me I had to share and she didn't. And she wouldn't share with me. And then she called me a hamster brain. And then she.
Don't you love that? They called you a hamster brain.
Brother, I needed that. I need that. I need that. Golly.
So it's not fair today, an idiot light. What? Yes. When I hear myself saying that, it's like a low oil pressure, Bob. It's like low Holy Spirit oil pressure, by the way. It's not fair. Well, if we could take that thought captive, it's an idiot light, right? Your check engine light is flashing at you when you hear your own mind saying it's just not fair. That was Eric Nagler and his Family Music special on YouTube, which I'm sure you're going to hear a little more of that today.
As soon as you told me what we were talking about today, I had to get a cold compress and put it on my eye where you had just socked me right in the eye. This is such a fitting thing for me today.
And so very fun. Today's show, as always, is brought to you by Hebrew Letter, and today's Hebrew letter is the Vav, the Hebrew letter Vav, which essentially means it's kind of like Jacob's ladder, something that comes down from heaven. I think you're going to really like how that fits into today's show. So anyone who's ever been around children may have heard this saying before. My wife used to have a book, It's Not Fair, she would read to them because they say it constantly. Well, unfortunately,
it's just not children, brother. It's not all children. I am so guilty.
Yeah, if you were to hang around inside my brain for any given amount of time, you would hear that lots of, self-talk. That's not fair. It's just not fair. And, why is that? And what is that? What is that we have in us that makes us do that? Well, I found out this week. I was just shocked, Bob. I am so blessed. I cannot believe how God just continues to teach me stuff. But I got to go to the National Religious Broadcasters Convention this week. And if you're me, one of the neat things I get to do while I'm on the convention floor, people line up interviews for me all day. So for 3 or 4 days, I get to interview really cool people that have written books or doing movies or have ministries, whatever it is they're doing, I interview people. And so this gentleman by the name of David Johnson, who wrote the book How You See Yourself, that's what his book is called, I was interviewing him. And he told me this word was iniquity. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, he said, do you know what iniquity means? And I said, well, come to think of it.
Yeah, maybe sort of, kind of.
Like, I would have told you that it's some kind of sin, and I would have told you that, it was laid on Jesus, the iniquity of us all, but I don't think I'd ever really done a lot to think about what the word iniquity means or how it fits into us. But
it was a real eye-opener when you explained it this morning.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I told you, that the show today is brought to you by the Hebrew letter Vav, because it's a fascinating study. And I saw this outside of the book. I did my own study once I realized that this was the word, and then I was like, oh my! I mean, I connected so many dots with this concept. I couldn't even believe it. So the reason why this is the check engine light for us is we feel this all the time. It's not fair. It's hitting us between the eyes, and it's check engine light that the Holy Spirit oil is low, okay? Because the word anav and anon are spelled almost identically. They're both spelled with the same letters, which, by the way, the word anav means meek. So the meek shall inherit the earth. And Jesus came to give the good news in Isaiah 61 to the meek. And I can tell you time and again, the word meek is a wonderful, wonderful thing. But the word anon means iniquity. Same letters, different order, okay? Well, the first letter in both is an ayin, which means your eyes. So you're looking for something, okay? What are you looking for? Well, if you're meek, you're looking to serve, right? The meek, and what are they looking to serve? So theirs is looking to serve. There's the vav, heaven. So if you're looking to serve heaven, or heaven, if you're looking to serve heaven, that makes you an av, okay? But if you're looking for heaven to serve you, if your vav is before your nun, then you fit into the Robby category.
Oh, and Bob. Oh, man.
So it's interesting that President Kennedy's great speech, when you think about it, is based on this concept. Don't ask, what God can do for you. Ask what you can do for God. I mean, it's a very simple little switch. Like, am I looking for God to serve me? It's just not fair. Or am I looking for how I can serve? And it's a beautiful understanding, I think, when you begin to really dig into this, okay? So I'm going to tell you a couple stories, but the real idea is for you to share your stories, okay? When you anon versus anaved, okay? And when you anon versus an anaved, okay? So here's my favorite one of these. But I'm going to tell you how I messed up in a little while. But Craig McConnell, who was with Wild at Heart, beautiful, wonderful man, died a few years ago of cancer. But while he was dying of cancer, he got terribly, terribly, terribly sick and was running a fever, a deadly fever, like 106, 107. And he said he felt absolutely the worst he'd ever felt in his life. And he's got a wonderful relationship with Jesus, and he's crying out to Jesus, help me, help me, help me. If you can picture this, right? And Jesus says to him, Craig, this is a great time to pray for others. What? And the way he told this story was so good. He was like, no, you're not understanding. I am sick. I have a fever of 106. I'm dying here. Do you not get the picture? And Jesus says, yeah, I know, Craig. It's a great time for you to pray for others. Wow. And Craig says that he begins to pray. And he said, I could pray at a depth I never prayed before in my life. And after a half an hour of being totally engulfed in this prayer, he said, I can tell you that everything lifted, and I was great. Right?
Wow. I've said it a bunch of times. My worst days is when I'm focused on myself.
Right.
And I am guilty of that so much here recently. There's some things that have happened and changed my life. I have a new granddaughter. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. I love that little girl, but it's changed things. And I am having a little trouble accepting some of that. and it's because I'm focused on me. Instead of being just so grateful for the blessing he gave us with a grandchild, I was not sure I would ever have one, and now I do. And it's just been a real eye opener for me.
And so, your eyes, where have you got them? Have you got them on serving God, or do we have them on him serving us? It's kind of like the difference between iniquity. And there's such a connection to this, so many ways of the Bible. It's like, it just opens up. Again, I put a link at ChristianCarGuy.com to David Johnston's book on the whole thing, how you see yourself. But again, as we talk about this, I need your story. 866-348-7884. Today's show, it's not fair. It's a check engine light. It's a way for us to take that thought captive. Like, what is my mind on right this minute? And if it's on, it's not fair, or it's on something along the lines of self-service, it's a great opportunity to check the oil. Okay? So we got so much more. I got a story. It's a little more complicated than Craig's story, but I'm going to share that one about how I self-served myself into a real catastrophe. And we would love to hear yours. 866-348-7884. 866-34-TRUTH. So much more coming up.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
It's not fair. You know what? Nobody ever listens to me. It's just not fair. Toys and treats should all be free. It's just not fair. That's right. Breakfast should be pop and chips, cake and candy chocolate dip. So let me do the shopping trips. It's just not fair.
It's just not fair today. It's an idiot light that's constantly in my brain telling me it's just not fair. So today on the Christian Car Guy Show, when has that worked out in your life that you realized, wow, I am worrying about serving myself rather than serving God? And it seems easy enough to just throw that out there and go, oh yeah, this is easy. Well, it's usually when the chips completely come down, Bob, like all these things are going on. Like your phone is ringing when your show is supposed to start and you're looking at like just happened to me. But anyway, when I was the Chrysler dealer in Winston-Salem and I got fired, clearly I went to God and I prayed and prayed and prayed, God, what's my next step? And Chrysler called me. They did. And they said, Robby, we never sold Chryslers like we sold them when you came to town. So we need to get you a dealership. And there's one, right near your house in Mocksville, North Carolina. And I said, there's no Chrysler dealership near my house. I lived in Clemens, North Carolina at the time. And they said, oh yeah, it's about 10 miles away. And I was like, there's no city named Mocksville. Yes, there was. So to make a very, very long story short, I went about trying to buy that dealership, as I told them, with no money. And they said, Chrysler originally told me the famous last words I'll never, ever forget. Oh, we'll take care of that. Oh, are those famous last words. We'll take care of that. So I go and I get into a buy-sell agreement with Furchess Motor Company in Mocksville, North Carolina, to buy this dealership, and with no money. And, of course, then the time came where you got to buy the dealership, and I got a legal agreement to buy this, and I don't have any money. And I went to Chrysler Financial, after they told me all this stuff, and they said, you don't have any money. And I was like, well,
I think I told you this.
Are you remembering the conversation? Well, when we thought you didn't have any money, I mean, we didn't realize you have no money. And I said, yeah, I have no money. Well, we can't loan you that kind of. Now, if you could find $150,000, $200,000 or something, we could probably help you out with the rest of it. But we can't do this with no money. And I said, well, I've got a legal obligation now here to buy this dealership, and I don't have any money. And they go, oh, wow, that's really tough.
Oops. Oh, man.
So,
how'd that work for you?
Yeah, you could see it's just not fair, Bob. I'm telling you, it wasn't fair. Well, this was my opportunity. It really was to really ask God to dive into this situation and show me what to do. And I'm quite certain I prayed, but I know what happened was I went and saw an attorney who was an attorney I knew from the car business that had worked for Royce Reynolds, actually my former boss. And he put me on this idea of, well, Robby, you go out and raise the money by selling people stock. He said, but here's what you do. You don't tell anybody you don't have any money. And so once we get enough stock sold, then we'll just issue you stock. You don't have to have money to have stock. We can just issue you stock so that you look like you have as much money as they do to the other stockholders. And we'll just go to Chrysler with $150,000. They'll give you the rest and away you go. Great plan, Bob.
Looks good on paper.
It does. And it worked, unfortunately, or whatever. You know, there was one little equation that just, it might have been perfectly okay for somebody else, but it wasn't okay for me. You know, in my heart, this wasn't right. And I couldn't, you know, I knew it wasn't right. And so there was something I felt really bad about it, you know?
You felt like you were deceiving people.
I was. I did, and I was.
Yeah, you probably
from
were.
my perspective. Right?
Right.
But I served myself, right? I got it done. And when it came undone, which it did, right? One of the stockholders discovered Robby doesn't have any money. Well, this wasn't the reason the dealership ended years later, but I do think it had to do with the foundation the dealership was built on that never changed, right?
Not solid ground, huh?
It was not solid ground, right? And so I didn't allow God to build the house. Right? As it says, I think in Psalms 127, unless the Lord builds a house, you know, you labor in vain. Well, interestingly, if you look in Psalms 127, it says, that's the same psalm where they talk about the quiver of arrows like your children. And so the house that actually Solomon was talking about in that psalm is not, it's the house of your life is built around people, right? And serving other people, not necessarily serving yourself, right? And so it's an interesting thing that when you think about that word enough, to me, I find this really helpful. Like there's just one slight little change between someone who is anav, meek, and someone who is amav, which means to serve yourself. And so when you look at that, you know, we go, okay, well, this caused a disaster at the time, which I walked through that and certainly had egg all over my face. Had an opportunity for a lot of my friends that had invested in the dealership, and they just looked at me just like, Robby, if you'd have told us you didn't have any money, we still would have invested. But the way you did it, you know, it was horrible. You know, and so I, you know, it's just one of those lessons that I learned really the hard way. It was really ugly when it happened.
You didn't give them a chance to trust you, did you?
Right. I didn't give them a chance to trust me, and so I think about that constantly. In other areas of my life, where am I really like? Will I trust people with here's where I'm really struggling? Right, to give them a chance to really help me. Or am I going to play a few of those cards a little closer to the like how?
Well, this is wrong, and this could be a little better. But the real problem I'm keeping in my hip pocket, you know.
Right, and I used to get, you know, see this all the time when I sold cars that people would tell me all their stuff, you know, that they needed and and then oh, by the way, you know, we don't have any money. You know, so I had opportunity. So how about you? 866-348-7884 is the number to call in and share. 866-34-TRUTH. We got so much more. Christian Car Guys Show. It's not fair. It's an idiot life.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Nip it in the bud. You got to nip it in the bud.
Nobody ever lets me play. It's just... That's right. I want parties every day. It's just not... With kids coming through the door, piling presents on the floor. It's not enough. I need some more. It's just not fair. No, it's not fair. I tell you, it's not fair. He came out into the audience.
I know you're going to hate that you're missing out on the gopher brain comment again, but we did the best we could in 29 seconds. It's not fair. It's like a check engine light that's flashing in your brain telling you, wow, you're low on oil. You really are. It's one of those red lights. It's flashing that tells you, well, I need to pull over to the side of the road and get some oil. Because here's the deal, right? You know, when I'm thinking along those lines, it's time to somehow switch my VUV, right? Because we talked about, am I looking for God to serve me, as President Kennedy would point out to you, or are you looking to serve God, right? And it is, by the way, this works so well. The beautiful thing is it works at your church. Are you looking for your church, right, to serve you? Or are you looking to serve your church? Or are you looking for work to serve you? Or are you looking to serve your work?
Or maybe your spouse.
Yeah. Your marriage. Bob, you didn't have to go there.
I am so guilty. I have been the last time I went fishing at the beach, I had a great morning of fishing. They were biting. I was catching. You know, there's a difference in fishing and catching, but when you're catching, it's so much fun. And I've just been a little bit pouty or a whole lot pouty about wanting to get back down there and fish some more because the fish are there. And I've been unfair to probably mostly my lovely bride, Miss Lori. And if you're listening, I'm coming home with a different attitude. Yes, I still want to go to the beach and fish some more when we can. But I will be less pouty about it.
Well, again, you look to, like, God, how can I serve this situation, right? It's a check engine light. It's flashing. I'm personally shocked that nobody had the courage yet to call us at 866-348-7884. Like, if you're asking God right this minute, how can I serve? He's saying, call Robby so he doesn't feel so lonely.
Well, you've stepped on a lot of toes, starting with mine, and you know, people may be limping toward their phone.
No,
this is a thing that everybody at some point, at some level, is guilty of.
Right, and it's a neat study, but I want to give out that number just in case you want to call. 866-348-7884 is the number to call in and share your It's Not Fair story.
I love it when your shows are so pertinent to my life. You know?
It's not fair they're not calling, Robby. It's just not fair.
Oh,
well, just in case, 866-348-7884. Well, there you go. See, we knew
peer pressure, huh?
Something along those lines. But yeah, this is so applicable to your car, okay? I mean, it just is that when those lights flash, it's like you got to pull over the red light. You got to pull over to the side of the road, and you got to get going. So we got Ann is calling from Huntersville, North Carolina. I happen to know. Ann, you're on the Christian Car Guy Show. Good morning.
Couldn't help myself. I thought, oh, give the poor guy a break. No, I'm kidding. But
it's just not fair, Ann.
It's just not fair. I'll tell you something. Yesterday, the only reason I'm calling is because I thought, oh, this is just too weird. Yesterday, which I found out when I looked in the manual about my, Buick LaCrosse. I don't know anything about my car, to say the least. But it says service engine soon light came on all day yesterday. Service engine soon. And I thought, well, this is a great way to ask Robby about that. But also, I totally Bob too. You know, I mean, I just so relate to this because you've tried so hard in life and you try to serve, and then suddenly somebody does a disservice to you, and I get that pouty thing a lot. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So I can so relate. Thank you very much for this guilt complex.
It's not. It's really kind of cool. Like, God, I now see that this is my check engine light flashing, and I need to say, whoa, God.
It got a lot brighter, too.
Service engine soon is the same thing. That light's yellow, isn't it, Ann? That's flashing
yes,
at you.
It certainly is. And it is getting brighter. Is that a bad sign?
It's nothing, it's all good because your car is telling you you got something that's causing it some concern, and the computer has got to. And so, yes, unfortunately, you got to take it. You can even take it to most parts stores nowadays. Will just plug it in and tell you why that light is actually flashing at you without charging you $60 for a service charge. You can go to Advanced Auto Parts or someplace like that and say, "Why is this light on?" And they'll tell you, "Oh, you need oxygen sensor," or "Oh, you need this or that."
Or you need an oil change,
or or whatever it may be. Sometimes it's something simple as like, "Oh, your gas cap is not on tight." Well, I can handle that one.
Yeah, that's a lot cheaper.
So,
and then that's how God does with us too, isn't it? I mean, it's like your oil is low. God, come and spend some time with me. Let's get this out in the open. Let's figure out. Sorry, what this is. That's
exactly
the master mechanic of life.
He is. He's got those dash lights blinking at us. And I was just, for me now, after I found out that iniquity means, wow, I've got this sense of it's not fair. I've got this sense of this kind of thing. It's like, wow.
Well, I saw the light flashing, but I thought it meant I need to go fishing.
And it is so important, isn't it? I mean, when you realize the iniquity thing, that you say, "Oh Lord, I am so sorry. I am so self-absorbed right now," and that truly is when you're the most miserable, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And you can learn from Barney Fife right here, because if you nip it in the bud.
Right.
That was mostly my problem. I didn't nip it in the bud, and the next thing you know, I'm in full-fledged iniquity.
Yeah.
Me. Thank you, Ann. I so appreciate your call.
You guys are so precious. I just love listening. Well, you keep on going now. Get that. We'll all get our.
Oh well, you lit up the phones, man. Everybody started calling after you, so we're good.
Oh, goody.
Oh,
Okay.
You were an icebreaker.
You were, yeah. God bless. So Ann called in at 866-348-7884, and I know you don't want to be left out. 866-34-TRUTH. We got Keith, my good friend in High Point. Keith, you're on the Christian Car Guy Show. Good morning.
Good morning to you. I was going to call because you were wanting someone to call you so you wouldn't feel bad. But that lady in life there are a lot of things that don't seem fair, but I've been learning since 2017 till now, when that was going to be my 30th anniversary of being in business, and I had my own business.
Yeah, you had a restaurant, right?
Yes, and I was going to make a trip. I had had everything planned, and all of a sudden, through a medical condition, I ended up over in Baptist Hospital,
Oh.
And a month later after that, I had to close the restaurant down. But I never did think it wasn't fair. I was in too much shock to really think that. But I've learned that the more I count my blessings, the less my liabilities are. When I start counting my blessings, the things that I have, that I still have, the things that I don't have, or things that have gone wrong, they just start shrinking. Does that make any sense?
No, I'm with you.
That attitude of gratitude will carry you through a lot of stuff.
It really does. And there's there might be a mountain of liabilities, and there might just be an anthill of blessings. But if I keep focusing on those blessings, the blessings become the mountain, and the liability becomes the anthill.
Wow, there you go.
I've been learning that, and it's just
it's a beautiful thing.
That's one good thing I can see about what's happened to me since 2017 is just the way I look at things, and God's shown me a whole lot. The old saying is, I'm doing better than I deserve. Well, that's even more clear every day.
I like the way, I've got a friend by the name of Danny who says, you can't kill a grateful heart. That's a good one. That's a Bobism maybe at some point in time. Well, Keith, thank you for calling. And we got to go to a break now, and we would sure love to hear your call during the break, and we will take it. 866-348-7884. One more chance to tell us where you think it's not fair. 866-348-7884.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Nip it in the bud. You got to nip it in the bud.
Nobody ever lets me play. It's just... That's right. I want parties every day. It's just not... With kids coming through the door, piling presents on the floor. It's not enough. I need some more. It's just not fair. No, it's not fair. I tell you, it's not fair.
It's not fair. It's sort of an idiot light for all of us on the Christian Car Guys show today. And I need to mention that coming up at 1 o'clock on the Truth Network, we have Amy Cabo and The Cure, and she's going to have a show on how to be happier with Robert Gill. And I bet you they're going to talk about that one of the ways to be happier is to get your mind on serving God and finding out ways to do that. But meanwhile, I'm so grateful we have Janet is in Seattle this morning. Janet, you're on the Christian Car Guys show. It's not fair, is it, Janet?
Well, indeed. And it's the most unfair thing is if we know Jesus and we don't share it with those who don't.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. That isn't fair, is it? That is so well said.
Thank you. I just been listening to the other wonderful callers and their candor and how they are affecting me. And then I just thought, wait a minute, not look at ourselves and what's the bottom line here. So thank you for a great show, guys.
I'm glad you said what you said because I had the opportunity to tell somebody this week it's a great thing to have it, but it's a better it's a better thing to share it. And it's just amazing. So thank you for your words.
Oh, it really is. And it's such a great segue into what I felt like God was telling me to say this morning.
Oh, good. And isn't it a great feeling when we have the opportunity to share it or can make the opportunity? And I keep hoping one of the people I share with someday will come back and say, hey, I believe now. So I'll keep praying on that.
Those seeds will sprout.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will, Janet. God bless. What a beautiful concept. Yeah. I mean, those people who don't know Jesus, it's not fair that I have that and they don't. It's just a really cool thing. So this morning, Bob, I was coming back from Dallas. I drove because we were bringing my mother-in-law back and forth, and I was dead tired. And so, but I, got up real early this morning and prayed as I always do, like, God, where are we going this morning? Because I'm a little in a fog. And to make things even more complicated, but I love the way he plays with me. Usually he'll give me a word or he'll give me a passage. But this morning he says, well, let's go to Isaiah 9. And I'm like, Isaiah 9? I'm sleeping. He goes, yeah, 9:1 through 10. Well, I'm not that kind of Bible scholar that I can tell you Isaiah 9:1 through 10, just off the top of my head. But for your memory and for what I learned very shortly is Isaiah 9:6 says, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. A wonderful counselor, right? That line, that's in Isaiah 9, okay? Just along the lines of what Janice just said. And the increase of his government will be no end. But see, what he really wanted me to look at, what I think he was pointing me to, is unfortunately the end of 9 and 10. It says, and all the people shall know, even Ephraim and the habits of Samaria, but they will say in pride and stoutness of heart, right? The bricks are fallen down, but we will build with hewn stones. The sycamores are cut down, but we will change them into cedars. And it has everything to do with the stone the builders rejected, but I never had put it together before, is that we want to rebuild our houses. We want to rebuild our churches. We want to rebuild all these things. But that's our pride and our starkness of heart. Who is going to build that stuff? Is what God is saying, Robby, to me, he's saying, Robby, I'm going to build my house. You get to share if you get to, right?
Got to have him as the cornerstone, huh?
Absolutely. And how did he build it? He built it with people, 12 of them, right, at least, and all those others that followed him. He built it by sharing with the Anav. He shared it with those who were meek, that would be willing to hear the message, right?
Somewhere this week I was hearing about how much detail they had to spend to setting the cornerstone and getting it set just perfect. Because if it was not where and exactly how it needed to be, then everything else will be thrown way off. So.
And he set the cornerstone, right? And he will bring people into our lives. If that's what we're trying to do, is pray, God, okay, we understand that your house is going to be built with people. It really is. Like Psalm 27 says, right? That's going to be built on that. And it is just exactly what Janet shared. Like, if we can get our mind off of, it's not fair. Because think of Job, the whole book of Job is like, it's not fair, man. It's just not that way. It's not fair.
I mean, while you're reading it, you can't help but think that's not fair to him. You know?
Or the parable of the talents. You're thinking every time, man, that guy got 10, this guy got 20. That's not fair. It's just not fair. What Jesus is trying to say, man, is if you got one talent, just one, right? Then invest that in sharing what Jana said, that Jesus, he can make this stuff happen. It's a beautiful opportunity. Just like, whoa.
Well, I got to share this week was my late son's birthday. And I spent some time at the cemetery. And I don't have much problem with it's not fair there. Because, when it first happened, there was no answers available to me. I just had to find a way to move forward, and I didn't waste a whole bunch of time saying why or it's not fair or anything like that. And the only way I could do it was just to trust that, God knew what he was doing, and Rob was gone for a reason, and just hang on to the truth that he and I will be back together. And it's already been 7.5 years since he passed, and we'll be back together, before I know it. And it's just, that was one area that I didn't struggle so much with. It's not fair and why and all that, because I just knew there was not an answer available.
And also, really, when you think about it, Bob, there were number one, you were turning to God. He sent a special comfort in a special time when I could have no idea of what you were going through. And there were whole tons of people. But the other thing is that I just, he's the one that laid the stone, right? And he's the one that puts out the everlasting arms for us to lean on. When we can't lean on anything else, there they were. And I saw you then, and I see you now, because it doesn't hurt any less today than it did 7 years ago, does it?
I don't understand my okayness with this. How I was able to be so strong through all that. I don't understand it, but I don't have to understand it. I just have to trust that it was his plan, and somebody will explain it to me one day.
But also the people God has sent your way that have also lost children.
Yeah.
Right?
I've got a lot of opportunity to reach out and help people and try to assist and try to gain comfort from them.
Because he comforts us with a comfort that we can comfort others with, right? 2 Corinthians chapter 1 comes to life in Rob's and Bob's life constantly. So, wow, we're so grateful for all the calls today. I feel supported. Don't you feel supported, Bob?
Thanks for having me here today, brother, and thanks for the message that I really needed. And
God gave it to me first.
That's fair.
Slow down. Jesus walked everywhere he went, got it all done in 33 years. So thank you for listening to the Christian Car Guy Show.
We listen to the Truth Network. TruthNetwork.com.